You're listening to The Talent Sync. The Talent Sync is a talent board and job sync collaborative podcast production about anything and everything recruiting and hiring. Literally the kitchen sink on how all things in talent acquisition work together, should work together, and how sometimes they don't. Now it's time to sync up with your hosts, Kevin Grossman and Leah Daniels. Today's topic is about candidate experience on career sites and job boards. Enjoy the podcast. Hello, Leah. How are you doing this fine day?
Hi, Kevin. I'm great. How are you?
You know, I'm good. I won't actually rehash what I squawked to you about before we started the podcast, but I'm good. We're all set, even with car issues. We had a great Memorial Day weekend, and we're safe and sound and back at home and ready to dig into another podcast with you. So
I love it. All the good things. It is hot where I'm at right now.
Oh, is it sticky?
Yeah.
Is it sticky hot?
It's 91 and hot and sticky, but we're looking at 40 days of rain from here on out.
Really?
So
are you serious?
Build your boat, everybody. Where it's coming.
You got
crazy.
ARC syndrome going on there? Seriously?
Apparently, starting tonight, we're like load them up 2 by 2. Get your paddles ready.
That's not usual for the broader Boston area, right?
I feel like our point of view on weather is, that seems like a good idea right now. And
well, it's supposed to be it's supposed to be an El Nino year again, and an El Nino cycle coming, so that could mean regular rainfall for us in the next winter, this coming winter at the end of the year, maybe for the West Coast, which would be.
You already got enough last.
Well, we did. No, we did, but that could be drained in 1 to 2 years if we don't keep getting rain, though. So that could be gone off the thing. But so 40 days of rain for you, huh? You got a lot of rain coming.
It's a lot. At least as far as my weather app is willing to share, it's rain every day from here on out.
I just talked to somebody who was just in North Carolina in the past week, and there was just tons of rain, lots of storms going on. So must be them coming your way too, right?
Well, and it's the beginning of hurricane season for everyone in the South. So I congratulated everybody for their next 6 months of grocery store runs and flying roofs. So
you congratulated everybody?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not sure why you
I have a bunch of people on our team who are down south, and so I'm like, welcome to your hurricane season where you're going to do frequent grocery store runs and nothing will be there and roofs will be flying, and it's going to be amazing.
So, Leah, let me ask you this. What is the least glamorous part of the job search experience for job candidates? What do you think it is?
I'm going to be very specific. Creating the 35,000th account on an ATS.
Exactly. And that's, yes. So you win the prize. Ding, ding, ding. You get a gold star by your name. So this episode, we're going to focus on, again, what it's like for job candidates, researching as well on the career site, but to the point of applying. And it could be from job boards too. Even that with the big easy button apply on whatever that is, it's still not a great experience. And we can share candy data and talk about it. But I mean, did you see the May jobs report?
You know what? I haven't.
So 340,000 jobs added in May. The unemployment's up too. It ticked up. It inched up, but it's still a very bizarre.
It's a tale of two industries or two hiring markets.
It is.
It just is.
And who's benefiting the most still, according to the numbers I was reading earlier, is a big chunk of that hiring is business services, healthcare, and hospitality. But even with another thing that I thought was interesting, even with the housing market being weighed down by high interest rates, construction companies added 25,000 jobs last month. So there is just this, tale of, again, like you said, tale of two hiring cities, right? That said, we continue to see, I guess there's been some more consolidation in our space too, right? And I saw, unfortunately, which does happen when you get consolidation, I thought Modern Hire had some layoffs. They just got bought or acquired by HireVue. But you kind of know that comes, right? You get folks looking for jobs.
You do. And interestingly, the job boards are all laying off right now. So we're actually seeing a reduction of force in all of our job boards, which if you're thinking about the market, right, why is this happening?
Yeah, tell me. So why is that happening then?
There's a couple of things happening, right? So the first thing that is really important is you mentioned the ones that are still hiring.
Yes.
And we're seeing a lot of the hiring as a reflection of consumer behavior, right? So one of the things that consumers are not spending a lot of money on right now is retail and specialty retail. So we're seeing retail hiring down, which tends to be a big source of revenue for a lot of our job board friends.
I just saw Macy's and others, they're way down in
Costco.
And
yeah,
Costco too. I saw that. So yes. So go ahead.
So you've got that, which is a major part of hiring throughout the year in the US. You've got, as you said, construction is up a little, but house buying is not.
No, it's not.
And so there's this set of behaviors that comes after buying a house. You buy furniture, right? You buy services like painting and redo your kitchen or whatever it might be. So there are some services that are being impacted through this process. But then the big one is the entirety of the white collar market is pretty much holding its breath, right? So you saw companies where historically they would continually be hiring developers or software people or salespeople are really slowing down that hiring. And so it's all happening right now. And the reality is we still have not enough humans for the work we need to do in the hourly workforce.
Hence the tale of two or just the dichotomous nature of what's going on right now. That's true. We just had our latest Candy community meeting where we get 10, 15, 20 plus people. It just varies every month that from our community that come on to talk shop. And it continues. And this is in our the monthly Candy Pulse survey that we've been doing too on hiring is that it's hung in there like we're seeing with the overall job numbers, but they're not really hiring. I mean, there may be some replacement hiring, for example, not a lot of net new hiring, except for the industries that we talked about. And it's definitely slowed. But let's jump to, because we can talk about what that means until we're blue in the face or what it might mean or what's coming. It's still this bizarre market, but let's talk about those who are looking then. So there's still jobs, but there's a lot of candidates looking for jobs. They still can't fill all the jobs. So the first thing, whether they're going to Google or they're going directly to companies that they're interested in, they're going to the career sites, they're going to job boards, they're going to these things. They're doing potentially a little research first. Now, whether that means 5 minutes or 5 hours, it depends, right, on the job and the nature of it. But one thing that I'll say, and companies, at least a lot of the organizations in our greater Candy community, and especially those who have won our Candy Awards, career sites have come a long way.
Yeah.
They really have, don't you think?
Oh, phenomenal, right? I mean, for a long time, remember they weren't a career site. It was a click on the career button to a list of jobs, click on an apply button. And you're already on the ATS by the time you hit that list of jobs. I mean, it was just really purpose built, let's call it. And now, companies have really put, I think, a lot of effort into leaning into their ideal customer profile from a candidate perspective or ideal candidate profile and try to share a lot about what the culture might be and what the opportunities are and their benefits. I think they've done a good job, a lot of those things.
They totally have. And what they find, what our research finds, and I'm sure we'll see a lot of the same themes again this year, that besides salary and benefits, which are always top of mind for anybody looking for a job, of course. What they're finding more readily now is they're finding, information about company values, which, by the way, in our data, our benchmark from last year, because we're still collecting for this year, values jumped to the top for the first time in a few years. It's always been at the high end of the list when we're talking about the kinds of content they're consuming before they apply. Values jumped to number one, but career path opportunities, virtual, flexible, hybrid work, diversity and inclusion initiatives, why employees are working there, videos of employees working there, why are they there, why do they stay there, those kinds of things, more information about what it's like to work there. All those things is what candidates tell us the past few years now. That's what they're looking for. And the companies who are investing in more of that and keeping it replenished and refreshed, again, that's part of the attraction for them to at least researching.
Time for a Talent Sync break.
Hey everybody, Kevin Grossman here, president of Talent Board and the Candidate Experience Awards. Our 2023 Candidate Experience Benchmark Research Program will open in January and run through August 31st. To learn more on how your organization can participate, go to thetalentboard.org.
Break time's over. Now back to the Talent Sync.
One of the things that I think is phenomenal, I don't know if you've seen this, Amazon has a commercial. Now, Amazon has one of the largest workforces here in the United States. They hire a tremendous number of people who are both hourly and professional workers, the knowledge workers. But they've done a series of commercials, and granted they're Amazon and most companies aren't going to invest in this level, but the commercials are about career progression. Have you noticed this? They keep pushing commercials around the supportive education of their employees, the promotion opportunities, the progression of employees at Amazon. And I think what they've done, which is really interesting, is change the order in which candidates get this information, right? Typically, you have started at the job posting level. The candidate finds that you're looking for someone, and then they do their research. Like, why would I research a company before I know that you're even looking for someone like me? And Amazon has said that aside, I want to lead with the thing that's most important to my ideal candidate profile, which is career progression. I want to make sure that's front and center. And so they've taken a really interesting marketing approach where they said, the application is not the beginning of this process, but rather the end. The beginning is getting them excited about the opportunity to work for an organization like Amazon. And I think what they've done is really interesting. And it's a great way to think about how you can change the model and the process.
No, I agree with you. I think that investment in that kind of recruitment marketing and employer branding definitely can pay off for candidates, because that is, they're taking that's information that the candidates want before they even again press submit my application now at the end of the day. And companies that have above average candidate experience ratings in our research have a 31% higher Net Promoter Score at the point of asking candidates to rate the research stage, because we do across stages. Again, they're not doing it right all of the time. They're just doing it right most of the time. And they're focusing on those things, like the Amazon example that you said, to give them really this understanding, okay, this could be a path for me going forward. Whether again, and I think to your point, because they've also done in the past few years too, Amazon has also done commercials around that we can do all this kind of career learning and growth, and then you could go off and do something else at a completely different company. So come work for us and get some skills, and that's a big deal, right? I'm sure they're not the only company that does that, but they're the ones that spend a lot of money on the campaign about it.
It means they're thinking about the world very rationally,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
People are no longer in a 30-year career at one company. That just doesn't exist anymore. And so leaning towards not just the current market, but also the future market. What does Gen Z want in their career, right? Are they going to stay at one company for 30 years? No, not even 10, probably not 5. So we need to lean into what we've got for our candidate opportunity and support them as long as we can, as long as they'll support us, and try to make some magic out of that. I will say something, though, Kevin, that's really tough from a candidate perspective. You've got these really beautiful, polished career sites, right? I love the ones with real employee videos, real employee photos, right? The stock photography, I feel like that is one of those things that's losing its edge a little.
I think that's been going away more. It doesn't mean, I'm sure that still exists in a lot of different career sites out there, but there's more reality in the brands that get it. They're showing real people.
Well, I think the reason that's so important is if you are portraying something of your business that you're not just the stock photography, but even just our values, and they're not actually the business's values. They're aspirational, not realistic. I think that puts your recruiters in a tough spot. So having a real experience of what the business is like, because the reality is those candidates that care enough to do research are going to do more than career site research. They're going to Glassdoor. And if what Glassdoor says and what they're seeing are so far apart, even if they've already applied, you've lost them.
Yes. And while there will be those, I remember, speaking of going back to your Amazon example, pre-COVID, there was this hubbub for a while. I don't remember exactly what year it was, when the whole thing about how toxic it was to work at Amazon, especially on the corporate side, on the professional side. And there was a lot of media play about that, a lot of, stories that came out. But yet there are always people who want to work for Amazon at the end of the day. And so you can make a choice. I mean, everybody has a choice, right? But I think that what happens, though, is that some of that luster, even for those most progressive companies that are very transparent up front, then they apply. Right. And so, like, to your example that you were saying above, I'm setting up 52 different accounts to apply for these jobs. And a lot of times I'm applying for multiple jobs across companies. And the reality, and this is where I'm in the defense of most employers of any volume any hiring volume. Unless I can actually literally respond to every single candidate who applies. And smaller organizations can do that. And I've talked to them in workshops that we've run and other activities where they say, yes, we don't have that high of a hiring volume. We can respond to every candidate. But for anybody who has hiring volume, that's not the case. It's going to be an autoresponder. And for those that, for the majority of candidates for any given job that aren't qualified for the skills and experience that employer is looking for, that's the end of the road.
It's interesting. I was just working with one of the companies that we work with, and they had this problem. They were getting 300 to 400 applicants for one job, and many of those applicants weren't qualified. It's almost like they weren't reading the job description, because there was some very specific set of you must-haves in order to. So we did something clever. We put a question right into their questionnaire on the big job boards and asked, how many months of experience do you have with X? And you get a drop down. And anybody that didn't meet the criteria got an autoresponder right away. And they got immediately DQ'd into the ATS because it still went in. And then what happened, though, that was super interesting is the way they phrased the question was not how many months, but do you have at least X number of months of experience? And what they saw was 8% of people just didn't apply. They actually lost almost 10% of the applications right off the bat. The next batch thought they had maybe enough to get through. And so they honestly answered how many months of experience they had. That wasn't enough. They got DQ'd, and that cut their volume down by over half. So what happened is that the recruiters just regained a whole bunch of time in their life where they didn't have to review applications because it had been done for them through a process that just sort of made it easier. So why is this important for the candidate and for the recruiter? Well, the candidate was never going to get hired. It was never going to happen. And so being able to get through that no faster, I think is always a better candidate experience than the infinite waiting.
It's totally the case. I can't even emphasize enough of that because, again, it's the most limited experience that any candidate has. If I have something that an employer is willing to screen and interview me for, then I'm getting more engagement. Yeah, I'm talking to humans. Even if that's still the end of the road after that, I had some more engagement. Applying and then not being qualified enough. But in our data, guess what's the percentage of candidates who still had not heard back from employers after 1 to 2+ months after applying? Any guesses?
30%.
It's close. You're very close. Ooh. It's 34. And that's last year. And that was up from even the year before. Now, we're still collecting data for this year. We'll look at the numbers soon. But yeah, that's a lot. We tell employers, listen, if they are not qualified at the point of application, whether they're screened by a human or they're auto-screened or whatever the case is, you are not going to move them on, then tell them within 1 to 2 weeks max. And the highest rated companies are doing it in our data 3 to 5 days.
Right. And for most of these systems, you can build it in such a way that you can tell them in 3 to 5 seconds.
Oh, you can, but now that is also too soon, though. But too soon is too soon, maybe, right? Because if I just apply, I want to know, of course, but we control the dials over tech stack. So I can have that go out 24 hours, 48 hours later, so that there's a little bit of it. Because, we've had, I'll never forget this. We did a workshop when I was first running Talent Board at Sonos, the speaker company, actually. Gosh, in Santa Barbara. What a lovely place. But we did a workshop and we were kind of sitting in this like kumbaya circle of recruiters. It was really very intimate, safe sharing space. And one of the TA leaders that were in the room said that she was talking about an experience she had had a few years before where she had researched the company, networked as much as she could, but still had to, physically submit the application. And after all her investment and taking, and it was for, professional TA role, she hit submit application and within 30 seconds got an auto rejection. And she's like, I will never do anything with that company again.
That's an interesting point.
Right? Ever do anything with it. Because she's like, because I know how it's supposed to work. And I know that they could have had a delay on that.
Time for a Talent Sync break.
Hi, Talent Sync listeners. I just wanted to share a bit about JobSync with you all. JobSync helps companies get more quality candidates out of their job board advertising and automates a variety of manual recruitment tasks by solving for the very low conversion rate challenges most companies experience on their career site. JobSync integrates your entire application, including all of your questions, directly into the various job boards' quick apply processes, providing you with fully completed applications directly into your ATS and resulting in 2 to 5 times more candidates while dropping your cost per application by half. This helps return up to 10 hours a week back into your recruiter's time, through custom automations that are based on your business-specific recruiting processes. JobSync works with most major ATSs like Workday, SuccessFactors, and Taleo, CRMs, programmatic platforms, and job boards like Indeed and Zip. You can check out jobsync.com to learn more.
Break time's over. Now back to the talent sync.
Anyway, I mean, those.
No, it's a great point because it's not the technology can do it in 3 seconds, but the human piece, which is the part we're always losing, right? The human piece says you need to wait. Now, I want to just comment on your 1 to 2 months for 1 second. There is this interesting challenge that certain companies have with responding quickly, right? So you have the first batch, which are unqualified, which you should always be able to answer, to your point, in 3 to 5 days, very quickly. Automate it, figure it out, go. The qualified ones are the toughies. And the reason why they're tough is because if you are a federal contractor, you actually can't disqualify them until you choose your winner. You can't do phased disqualification as part of the process. It's a silly rule that exists.
Wait, whose rule is this? I'm sorry.
This is the OFCCP, the
Oh.
Office Contract Compliance Program.
Okay, yeah, that would be an important one to follow. So say it again.
My understanding, and I am not a lawyer.
Right, and I don't even play one on TV.
I also don't work for the EEOC, but my understanding is in the OFCCP land, you are not allowed to disqualify your qualified applicants until you make a final selection.
That is interesting because I have heard that as well anecdotally. And again, I don't study employment law every day. It's something I'd like to look up because you're the one that reminded me way back when we first, even before we started this podcast together, that you're like, we talk a lot about the recruiting and hiring experience and candidate experience, but yet you can't negate the compliance reality of everything that goes on in recruiting and hiring. Now, if that's the case, I should know that and look that up. But if that makes sense to why, although employers that we have worked with over the years don't always articulate it that way, because they're always blaming the hiring managers that they want to hold on to everybody until they fill.
Oh, well, that's probably true too.
Right.
I don't want to.
No, and then, I mean, they want to hold on, like, okay, let's until I fill the role, but I want to. But that's probably those for folks that have some qualification. Right? Like, I'm always saying, if you know definitively at the point of application you are not doing anything else with them for that job, let them know. But that's a really good point about the OFCCP, though.
I think there's always a solution, right? Communication is always the solution. So even if you say, look, thank you so much for your application. You reach our minimum qualifications. Here is the process. And this is why it's going to be painful. Like, there is something about admitting up for a painful process up front that allows people to lean into it versus get mad at you for it, right? Just transparency. So transparency, communication.
That and not to get fined.
Yeah, well, don't do that either.
Don't get fined. But I don't want to bleed too much into AI because I'm sure that you and I will cover this again in future shows because it's just something that is pervasive and real and here and will only grow on how that impacts recruiting and hiring. But the EEOC for the past almost 2 years now, Keith Sonderling and others that work for have been out, saying we don't have anything, we don't have a problem with recruiting tech. We don't have a problem with AI and recruiting tech. We have a problem if there's adverse impact and that's what our problem always is. And you need to understand what your technology does. And that's another thing too, right? The issues of are you literally, for those people, are you missing out on because they're being auto screened out for extraneous reasons or whatever the case is? Are you missing out on people? I mean, companies are always talking about, like we just talked about the market at the beginning of this. It's really been tough to fill roles. There's still so many positions that are open they can't fill. And again, I don't want to bleed too much into this, but I mean, because the candidates could care less about any of the tech. They just care about getting hired, and most won't.
I mean, they care a lot about it when they have to go create that other
They do.
password
You're
again.
right. You're right. I mean, it impacts
Twitter would tell you otherwise.
I know. You're right. No. It does. They do care about it, but my whole point is that they always care about one thing only, and that's getting hired. And most won't for any given job. And if the hoops that I have to go through to get rejected are extreme and painful, then I am going to tweet on Twitter and go to Glassdoor.
It's super interesting because you mentioned Modern Hire earlier. And so one of the things that I live in a world of is what does your application process look like? And can it be done in other places besides your career site? And so a lot of companies want to do an assessment. And the number of companies that want to put a 45-minute assessment in the middle of their application is staggering. It's a very large time commitment for their candidates. And, it's interesting because a lot of employers will say to you, yes, but it gives me better data and I make better hires. And that actually might be very, very true. The question though is that the right time? Is that the right place in the process? And it's always an interesting one because you front load it and you help your recruiters, but at what expense to the volume? Like, do you end up not getting enough of the humans because you've made that process so arduous? Because I think asking 45 minutes of a candidate's time is a lot of time.
Oh, it's too much time. I mean, and
for a maybe no.
Well, I remember doing some work with optimization work with a big telecommunications tech company that we did years ago. And one of the processes that we looked at was that they had streamlined a little bit the initial application experience. It was still taking 15 to 20 minutes, but prior to that, it had taken 30 to 40. Then they added an assessment with little to no context as to why I'm taking this assessment. And immediately it sent me to another system and it looked wonky, and now take this, not really giving me any other context, limited directions, very difficult to get help around it. And then I take the assessment and then nothing after that. And that assessment was 30 more minutes.
And the thing that I think all these guys forget, the guys, that's not very nice. A lot of employers forget is that they might have undercover bossed themselves and like went and found their job and then they applied for it and like whatever. But you know what they didn't do?
That's funny. Yeah.
They didn't do it like 25 times before that, right?
No.
Which is this is the thing that I think we all get lost on the candidate experience is by the time they get to your job, your opportunity, they don't have eyes only for you.
They don't.
And they actually haven't had eyes for you before then either, right? They are trying to get a job. There is a purpose here. And so, that 25 minutes assessment, or I'll tell you too, Kevin, the other thing that I see in these applications that I like, and I'm in my 40s, I'm old. I'm like, what? Can I have your social security number? Your home address.
I would never let my children apply for a job that asked me for that.
But a lot of these organizations want to do WOTC, and WOTC needs this information. Now, WOTC does not require it at the application. That is not required.
Yeah, but
anyway,
unless I'm getting the job, I'm not giving you my social security number, though.
Exactly. But so many. And the other group that we see are companies who do a lot of rehires. So they've hired people in the past. They'll ask for social security number up front because they want to be able to tie it back to their original record and why they left. And again, it's this really interesting sort of request. And again, I don't know if it's a generational thing because I get so oogie about it, and maybe other people don't care so much. But I'm like,
I get oogie about it, and I'm older than you, so
It just seems like it's a very. I always equate it to my first date. Like I agreed to go to dinner with you. I showed up at the restaurant, and you were like, I need your social security number, your bank account number. I'd like to know. How many children are you planning on having? I'm like, whoa, I just want to know if I even like you.
I'm scheduling my Uber right now.
Yeah, thank you.
To go home, so.
I've got my phone auto ringing so I can pretend I just got a call. Like.
God. Well, listen, this has been always a great conversation. And I know that I'm sure that in the future we'll revisit different takes of this because this is just stuff that we have to, we keep talking about. And the good news is that we both work with employers that have made a lot of progress, I think, as it relates to what candidates are researching and how they're applying and that experience. And the candidate experience, I think one of the things we don't talk a lot about too is that if you also want candidates to self-select out, you don't want to make it completely painful and arduous, but you also need that, you get too many candidates that are like, I'm not even reading the job description. I'm just trying to apply for a job.
Told you, right? There's a new application. Auto applies for you. It's crazy.
But you want, if I look at this and go, I'm like, you know what? This isn't really for me. This isn't really the job for me. That's why you have knockout questions. That's why you have some screening at the point of application that can help that. That is important, and that is a good experience for candidates because I'd rather not waste my time then.
Well, I think a lot of candidates can recognize some of those questions and choose. There are lots of positions out there that have very hard skill requirements. They're non-negotiables and they're hard skills, and you either have it or you don't, and you should be able to answer yes or no. And I think that allowing people to have that secondary moment where they're like, oh, they really mean this question, this requirement, I think that's a good thing. My experience so far, so you know this, right? We like to ask all the application questions over on the job boards themselves. And candidates are far more willing to answer them, by the way, on the job boards. And so that's interesting because we do see these questions and they are hard skill questions. Do you have X amount of time? Do you have a license to carry a firearm, right? That's not like, well, maybe they'll take me if I don't. Right? No, like you have to have that.
Right.
It's a requirement. And so we see these things. Do you have security clearance? And that allows people to just say, I know I'm not going any further. I might as well stop now. and not spend the rest of the time doing the.
Agreed indeed. Well, listen, everybody, thanks again for listening and getting talent synced with us.
Love it.
See how I did that? Getting
I like
talent
it.
synced.
We synced up today.
We synced up today, and no, we did. And always appreciate it, Leah. Always a great conversation. And until the next time we get synced, have a great next time. Thank you for listening to the Talent Sync podcast, a Talent Board and Job Sync collaborative podcast production. More episodes soon.